They say, not every creature you meet in the forest is what it appears to be. And on this night, the forest was about to release something beautiful and terrifying. A long hiss cut through the darkness as the giant python twisted violently. Its golden scales cracked, its body stretched, reshaped. Until the impossible happened. The serpent became a man. A handsome young man, tall, elegant, dressed in a flawless dark suit. His shoes gleamed. His wristwatch sparkled like ice. His hair was perfectly neat. And in his right hand, he carried a heavy black suitcase. He smiled softly to himself. A quiet smile that hid more secrets than words ever could. Without glancing back at the ancient tree behind him, he walked out of the forest with the confidence of someone who belonged to both worlds and feared neither. By the roadside, hidden among thick bushes, a black Benz waited for him like a loyal servant. Its lights blinked once, almost like recognition. He opened the door, slipped into the driver's seat, set the suitcase beside him, adjusted his suit. And the engine purred to life. He drove off smoothly. Like a man who already knew exactly where destiny wanted him. The quiet forest faded behind him. And Lagos rose before him like a blazing storm. Bright lights. Loud music. Cars honking, people laughing, shouting, dancing. The entire night felt electrified. His Benz slid through the chaos of the city and stopped in front of one of the most popular nightclubs. Blue and red lights flashed across the entrance, casting reflections on his suit as if announcing, "A stranger has arrived." He stepped out. Heads turned instantly. Nobody knew him. But everything about him, the car, the walk, the aura, spoke one thing. This man was not ordinary. Inside the club, heat and music slammed into him at once. People danced wildly, drank without thinking, and lived like tomorrow didn't exist. The mysterious stranger moved through the crowd calmly, sat alone at a corner table, placed his suitcase beside him, and watched. Quiet, mysterious, untouched by the chaos around him. But the night wasn't finished with him. Because on the stage, under bright club lights, someone was dancing. Someone who was about to change his story and have hers rewritten forever. The club was shaking with energy, lights flashing, music pounding, bodies moving like waves in a storm. But in the middle of all that noise, something, or rather, someone, caught the stranger's eye. On the stage, a girl danced with a confidence that didn't need permission. Her hair bounced with every step, her smile lit up the room. And the club lights wrapped around her like she was made to be watched. Her name was Julia. And tonight, she glowed brighter than every bulb in that building. The stranger's calm expression shifted, just slightly. His eyes narrowed with interest. Something about her pulled him in, like destiny calling his name. But before the crowd could even realize they were witnessing the beginning of something strange, the man reached for his black suitcase. He opened it. And the moment the club lights touched the inside, the world seemed to stop. Money. Neatly packed. Stacked high. Bundles and bundles of it, filling the suitcase from corner to corner. People around him gasped. One girl shouted in disbelief. Another man wiped his eyes like he was seeing a miracle. Nobody knew him. Nobody knew where he came from. But one thing was clear. This was not normal wealth. The man rose from his seat, grabbed 2 thick bundles, and walked toward the stage. The DJ froze mid-song, then shouted into the mic. "Oh, it seems we have a very big boy in the building tonight." Julia paused. Her smile faded into shock as she watched him approach. Before she could speak, money exploded into the air. The stranger sprayed her without hesitation. Notes flying like leaves in a violent windstorm. The crowd screamed. Phones rose into the air. Videos began instantly. People pushed forward, confused, excited, hungry for the moment. Who is he? Where did he come from? See money. This one is not normal. Oh. Julia covered her mouth, laughing in disbelief as she danced harder. She spun, she moved, she glowed. And he never stopped spraying her. When he finally returned to his seat, the same calm smile sat quietly on his face. As if he hadn't just turned the nightclub upside down. But Julia wasn't letting him go. She jumped off the stage and ran straight to his table. Heart beating fast, eyes bright with excitement. I haven't seen you here before, she said, breathless. The stranger lifted his chin slightly. His voice soft, smooth, almost chilling. My name is Doha. Julia nodded slowly. Something about him felt strange. But dangerously intriguing. She glanced at the suitcase again. Still full. Still heavy. Still impossible. Then Doha spoke a question that froze her completely. Will you marry me? Her smile vanished. Her heartbeat stumbled. Her voice trembled. We just met. You don't even know me. It doesn't matter, he replied gently. Some things are meant to be. Julia stared at him. Then at the suitcase. Then back at him. But Doha wasn't done. He opened a small box. Inside, a diamond ring blazed like it stole fire from the sun. Gasps filled the club. People screamed. Lights pointed at them like a spotlight from destiny. Julia held her breath. Then, whispered with disbelief. It's diamond. Yes, Doha said with a nod. It is. Her hands shook. Her eyes widened. And then, she said the words that sealed her fate. Yes. I will marry you. The crowd exploded into cheers. The DJ shouted about real love. Julia hugged Doha tightly. Never realizing she had just hugged a secret far bigger than she could ever imagine. The cheers from the nightclub were still echoing when Doha stepped out into the quiet night. Julia reached for her bag, ready to follow him home, ready to step into her new life as his bride. But he stopped her with a gentle hand. Tomorrow, he said softly. Here. Same place. We will see each other tomorrow. Julia frowned. Why are you leaving alone? Doha brushed his fingers lightly across her cheek. His touch cold enough to make her gasp. Tomorrow, he repeated, with a smile too calm. Too controlled. Too unnatural. Before she could speak again. He walked into the darkness, suitcase in hand. Never looking back. A few clubgoers followed him outside, hoping to see where this mysterious billionaire was headed. But the moment he entered his black Benz and the engine hummed to life, he disappeared into the night like a ghost. He drove far from the noise, far from the city. Until the glowing nightclub was nothing but a memory in his mirrors. Back to the forest. Back to the enormous tree waiting in silence. Back to the place where his truth lived. He parked beside the thick bushes, stepped out. And the transformation began before his feet fully touched the ground. His hands bent. His legs folded. His skin rippled and cracked. His suit fell off his body like discarded cloth. And in seconds, the handsome billionaire vanished. The golden python emerged. Massive. Silent. Terrifying. The creature slid into the darkness of the forest with the same calmness that had made him irresistible in the city. His suitcase, the one full of impossible wealth, disappeared with him, swallowed by shadows. But the forest was not still. Something deeper than the roots trembled. A pulse of ancient magic stirred. Something watched him. Something waited. And miles away, in a tiny room, Julia burst through the door of her house like a hurricane of joy. She didn't breathe. She didn't think. She didn't even close the door behind her. Girls! Girls, look, she screamed, waving her hand wildly. The diamond ring flashing like a trap star. Her friends Sonia and Kem jumped up in shock. Julia tore open her bag and dumped bundles of cash onto the bed. The notes spilling everywhere. The girls froze. Mouths open. Eyes wide. Hearts confused. Julia laughed, spinning, hugging her ring to her chest like it was her soul. I'm getting married, she shouted. This is my husband now. Sonia screamed in excitement. But Kem did not. Kem sat quietly. Eyes narrowed. Fear creeping into her voice as she whispered. Julia, something isn't right. But Julia didn't hear her. Her future looked golden. Her life felt changed. And in her mind, tomorrow was a dream she couldn't wait to wake up to. But deep inside the forest, tomorrow was already unfolding. And it was nothing like what she imagined. The next night came faster than Julia expected. The moment the sun disappeared, something deep inside the ancient forest began to stir again. Leaves trembled. Branches shifted. And from the dark roots of the giant tree, the golden python slid out once more. Its eyes glowed like two burning lamps. Then, slowly, its body twisted, stretched, cracked, until the serpent melted away. And the handsome man emerged again. Doho stood taller, richer looking than the night before. A new suit, this one touched with gold. A new suitcase, sparkling like treasure. He smiled to himself. The kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. Moments later, his black Benz rolled out of the forest and headed straight for the nightclub again. Julia was already waiting outside, dressed beautifully, glowing with excitement. Her heart beat faster the second she saw the car. That's him, she shouted, running toward the Benz like a child seeing magic. Doha stepped out, calm as ever. She hugged him tightly. But then she gasped. Wait, why is your body so cold? Doha gave a gentle smile. Oh, it's just the car's AC. I like it very cold. Julia laughed it off and hugged him again. But Kem, standing behind her, felt a chill crawl down her spine. Inside the club, people recognized him instantly. Boss. Big man. Spray us again. Phones were already pointed at him. Before he even reached the door, Julia held onto his arm proudly, like she was walking in with a king. They sat at their usual table, lights flickering across Doho's face. As he leaned back and spoke softly. I want to visit your parents tomorrow. Julia screamed before she could stop herself. Her friends screamed too. Well, everyone except Kem, whose smile faded even more. You're serious? Julia asked breathlessly. You really want to marry me? Doha gave a slow, careful smile. Of course. But not everyone in the club was celebrating. In the far corner of the room, two men watched silently from the shadows. Black coats. Cold eyes. Smoke swirling around them. One of them, Dennis, Julia's ex-boyfriend. His jaw tightened. Anger flashed in his eyes. Jealousy burned deep in his chest. That man, Dennis muttered. Something is not right about him. His friend nodded silently. Both of them watching Doho like hunters studying prey. But Doho didn't look their way. He didn't need to. After a moment, he stood up. Let's go, he said calmly. Julia grabbed her bag. Sonia and Kem followed closely. Excitement and fear clashing in the air. They stepped outside into the night. And Doha opened the car door. I want to show you something. The girls exchanged curious looks. Then climbed inside. The car glided out of the noisy streets. Into quiet, expensive neighborhoods. Lined with flowers and luxury houses. Julia's mouth fell open. "Where are we?" she whispered. Doha stopped in front of a stunning duplex. Glowing with bright, beautiful lights. He stepped out and pointed at it. "I bought this house," he said softly. "And it is in your name, Julia." Julia screamed so loudly the gate shook. "Oh my God," she cried. Running around the compound, laughing, crying. Touching the walls like she was touching heaven. Her friends clapped in disbelief. Sonia cheered. But Kem whispered. "This is too much, too fast, too strange." Julia didn't hear her. She threw her arms around Doha. Lifting her legs in excitement. "I love you. I love you," she shouted. Doha held her gently. But there was something in his smile. A hidden truth. A hidden danger. A secret that the night itself seemed afraid of. And far away in the forest, the giant tree moved again. As if something ancient was waking up. The week that followed felt like a dream to Julia. Every morning she woke up smiling. Every night she fell asleep imagining her life as a billionaire's wife. Doha gave her everything she asked for. Clothes, jewelry, money. Even things she didn't ask for. Her parents were overwhelmed. Her father walked around the compound smiling like a man who found gold. Her mother bragged to every neighbor who would listen. "My daughter has found a rich husband. A billionaire. God has done it." The entire neighborhood buzzed with excitement. But Kem kept her worries to herself. She watched quietly. She listened. She observed. Everything felt too perfect. Too sudden. Too unnatural. But Julia didn't see any of that. Her eyes were covered with love. And wealth. And a future she had already accepted. Then the wedding day arrived. Grand. Loud. Colorful. A celebration that lit up the entire community. Luxury cars lined the streets. Musicians sang as if the heavens themselves were watching. Cameras flashed non-stop. Food and drinks never ended. Julia looked like a princess in a gown that sparkled like fresh snow. People gasped when they saw her. She was breathtaking. Doha stood beside her in a white and gold outfit. Smiling softly. Calm as always. Too calm. But as the ceremony went on, people began whispering. Where is his family? Not even one. Not a single brother. A man this rich, he came alone. Some said his family lived abroad. Some said they couldn't travel. Others said wealthy people sometimes didn't like crowds. But then someone else said the words that silenced all doubts. With this kind of money, who cares? And just like that, every question disappeared. People turned their attention back to food, dancing, music, pictures. The show was too good to question. Julia didn't care either. She was marrying her billionaire. That was all she needed. But deep inside Doha's eyes, behind that perfect calm smile, something cold lived. Something ancient. Something watching. After the celebration, Julia and Doha moved into their new duplex. Her confidence grew instantly. She walked around like a queen. She flaunted her ring. She reminded everyone. My husband is a billionaire. Everything I want, he will buy. But the truth she didn't know, was darker than the forest he came from. Because even though the marriage felt perfect in daylight, every night, something strange happened. Something Julia tried to ignore. Until she no longer could. Something that would shatter everything she believed about her husband. And the forest, far from the city, began to shake again. As if it knew. The story had only just begun. At first, Julia thought marriage was supposed to feel like this. Gifts every day, money overflowing, love that felt like a fairy tale. Doha treated her gently, spoke softly, and carried himself like a man carved from perfection. But perfection has cracks. And hers began to show at night. Every evening, just when Julia expected warmth and closeness, Doha would calmly put on a perfectly ironed suit, shine his shoes, and say the same strange sentence. I'm traveling to Ghana tonight. The first time, Julia laughed. At this time of the night? My factory, he replied softly. I must check it every night. And because the wealth was blinding, she believed him. But night after night, the same routine repeated. He disappeared before midnight and returned before dawn, with a calm face, perfect suit, and skin colder than the air outside. Julia tried to ignore the uneasiness until the night that shattered her world. She stood in the bathroom applying her skincare, holding a small mirror under bright light. She hummed softly until she heard the bedroom door open. Baby, is that you? Silence. She raised the mirror again, and what she saw behind her froze her soul. Doha stood there, but not fully human. From the waist down, the mirror showed a thick golden python tail, moving slowly, alive, shimmering with scales. Julia dropped the mirror with a scream. She spun around, and Doha appeared completely normal. No tail. No scales. Just the perfect man she married. Baby, he whispered gently. Are you okay? Her voice trembled. I saw something in the mirror. Doha's smile disappeared. His eyes sharpened like a blade. It was your imagination. Then he stepped backward, into the shadow on the wall, and vanished, as if he dissolved into darkness. Julia slid to the floor, shaking uncontrollably. She didn't sleep a second that night. Her heartbeat didn't come. Her mind didn't stop asking. What did I marry? Morning came like nothing had happened. Doha walked in wearing another expensive suit, holding tea, smiling softly, as if he hadn't vanished into thin air. Good morning, my love, he said. Julia forced a smile through shaking breath. He touched her cheek with his cold hand. Why do you look scared? I didn't sleep. Doha nodded calmly. Prepare yourself. Tonight, we are going somewhere. Where? She whispered. You will see. The way he said it sent a chill through her bones. She spent the whole day trying to act normal. But every move he made, every glance he gave, felt heavy. As if he knew her secret. As if he was waiting. When evening painted the sky purple, Julia stood in the living room with her bag in her hand, heart pounding. Doha appeared behind her silently. Too silently. Ready? He asked. She nodded, though fear trembled in her eyes. He took her hand, his skin cold as ice, and led her outside. And somewhere far away, in the forest where his truth lived, the ancient tree shook again, its roots glowing faintly, its branches moving like something inside was awakening. Something connected to Doha. Something that now was watching Julia too. The truth was coming. And it would not come softly. Julia sat in the passenger seat, her hands trembling quietly in her lap. Doha drove silently through the night, his face expressionless, his cold hand occasionally brushing the gear shift. Every time her skin touched his, a chill ran through her bones. He didn't speak. He didn't smile. He didn't blink as much as a normal person should. They left the city lights behind, moving deeper into the kind of darkness that eats sound. "Where are we going?" Julia whispered. "You will see," Doha answered. His voice calm, too calm. He led her down a narrow path surrounded by tall, silent trees. The air felt wrong, too still, too heavy. As if the entire forest was holding its breath. Then they reached a clearing. And there it was. The giant ancient tree. Towering. Glowing faintly. Roots like coiled serpents twisting through the soil. Julia stepped back. "What is this place?" "This," Doha said softly, "is where everything began." He placed his suitcase on the ground. The tree rustled violently, as if it recognized him. Julia's heartbeat thundered. Her breath shook. Then Doha's smile vanished. His eyes sharpened. And his body began to change. Bones cracked. Skin rippled. His legs fused together. His spine stretched. His clothes fell away like dust. Julia watched in horror as her husband, the man she slept beside, melted into a massive golden python. Scales shining under the moonlight. Eyes glowing with ancient hunger. She screamed and ran. Branches cutting her arms. Tears blurring her vision. Behind her, the python slid after her. Silently, swiftly. Like a nightmare she could not wake from. Julia burst out of the forest and into the edge of the city. Collapsing on the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. Her husband wasn't a man. He was a creature wearing human skin. She didn't sleep that night. She sat in a corner of the living room. Eyes swollen, body shaking. Waiting for something to break through the door. When morning came, the door opened quietly. And Doha walked in. Human again. Perfect again. Smiling gently. "Julia," he said. "You left suddenly last night. Are you all right?" She stared at him, horrified. Doha stepped closer, kneeling in front of her like a caring husband. But his eyes remained cold. "Why are you scared?" he whispered. Julia's voice cracked. "I saw you. I saw what you really are." Doha did not deny it. He did not panic. He simply placed a cold hand on her trembling fingers. "Good," he said softly. "Then you are finally ready to understand." Julia jerked away, heart racing. Doha stood up slowly, calmly adjusting his suit. "Tonight, I will show you everything," he said. "You will understand your place beside me." "My place," she whispered in dread. "You married me," he replied. "And now, you must accept what comes with that." He turned and walked away. His footsteps silent. His presence chilling. Julia collapsed again, crying silently. The truth crushing her. She hadn't married a billionaire. She hadn't married a blessing. She married something ancient. Something powerful. Something dangerous. And tonight, it would claim her completely. Julia sat on the edge of the bed, trembling, staring at the doorway. Night wrapped around the house like a dark warning. Every second felt heavier than the last. Then, the soft click of the front door. Doha stepped into the room without a sound. His calmness was wrong. Too perfect. Too controlled. "Come," he said quietly. "It's time." Julia didn't move. Fear held her still. Then he smiled. A smile that didn't belong on any human face. "Julia, you are my wife. You belong with me." Belong. The word echoed like a curse. She forced her legs to stand. His hand, ice cold, wrapped around hers. And with no room for argument, he led her outside. Toward the waiting black Benz. The city vanished behind them. The road turned dark. The darkness turned alive. And Julia's heart hammered with every breath. "Where are we going?" she whispered. "You will see." They arrived at the forest. But tonight, it felt awake. Watching. Hungry. Julia followed him unwillingly through twisting branches. Until they reached the clearing. And the giant ancient tree towered before them. Like a doorway to another world. Its roots paused. Its bark glowed faintly. Its presence felt alive. Julia staggered backward. "What is this place?" "This," Doha said, "is my home." His eyes glinted gold. Not human at all. He placed his suitcase near the tree. And suddenly the ground shook. The tree rustled like it recognized him. Julia cried. "Doha, please stop. I don't want to see this." "It is too late," he replied softly. "You were chosen." "Chosen for what?" Doha stepped closer. "You saw my form. Now, you must witness the truth." His body began to contort. Skin rippling. Bones shifting. Legs twisting together. Scales bursting across his body. Julia screamed as he transformed into a golden python again. Massive, glimmering, ancient. But this time, it didn't end there. The tree behind him split open, pouring out blinding golden light. Wind roared around them, though no leaves moved. Doha's half-serpent form lifted in front of the tree, glowing with the same ancient energy. "What is happening?" Julia cried, falling to her knees. Doha's voice thundered, echoing from everywhere and nowhere. "The spirit of the forest awakens. The one who gave me life. The one who now calls for you." "No!" Julia screamed. "I don't want this. I don't want you." Doha's eyes glowed brighter. Scales shimmering like molten gold. "You don't have a choice. You married me. Now your soul belongs." The ground split open beneath her. A blinding golden crack burst through the earth, stretching toward her like a living hand. Julia scrambled backward. Dirt flying, tears falling. Her breath breaking into sobs. "Doha, stop. Please." But the tree roared. A deep, ancient roar that shook the entire forest. Its roots moved. Its bark peeled. Something massive shifting inside it. Something coming out. Doha turned his glowing eyes toward her and whispered, "Julia. It is time." The golden light surged forward. And swallowed everything. Cut to black. What rose from that tree was not meant for human eyes. And Julia's fate had only just begun.